Okay, so this first one is finding the length of AB. So all you have to do is use your distance formula. So A is going to be located at -1, -2, -3, -4, -1, and then B is going to be located at 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so then you just used your distance formula. All right, so that's x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, those double negatives are going to become positive. All right, then if we simplify, 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 squared is 36. And then 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 squared is also 36. So then that's square root of 72. So for academic, all you have to do is put that into your calculator and get a decimal. So as a decimal, your distance is going to be 8.5. Advanced, you would have to simplify the radical. So we need to find the greatest perfect square in 72, and that's going to be 36 into. So that means the square root of 36 times square root of 2 is square root of 72. So that's going to equal 6 square root 2. Okay, so then y'all would do 1B. All right, so then for 2A, we have to state if they're parallel, perpendicular, or neither. So basically we need to determine the slope of all of them. All right, so for A, we have 3y equals 4x plus 15. So my goal is to get y by itself. So I divide by 3. So I get y equals 4 over 3x plus 5. And then my second one, I'm going to start by subtracting x. And then divide by 12. So negative 9 over 12 is going to be negative 3 over 4 plus x plus 1. All right, so the slope of this first equation is 4/3, and then the slope of the second equation is negative 3 over 4. So those are negative reciprocals, so those are going to be perpendicular. All right, so then for B, all right, same thing, we want to get y by itself, so I have 3y equals negative 5x plus 3, divide by 3, so my slope over here is going to be negative 5/3, and then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side by subtracting the x's, so I have negative 3x minus 25, divide by 5, so my slope over here is negative 3 over 5. Okay, so they're both negatives, and they're not the same, so it's going to be neither. So yes, they are reciprocals, but they're not opposite reciprocals. All right, and then our last one for C. So I just move that x over, so I have negative y equals negative x plus 5, divide by negative 1. All right, negative over negative is positive, so our slope is 1 on the left. All right, then if we subtract the x, our slope is going to be negative 1 on the positive 1 on the right, and those are opposite reciprocals as well, so those are perpendicular. All right, so then y'all would do 2B. All right, so 3A is writing the circle equation of a circle. So your center is negative 2, 0. So that's x minus negative 2 squared plus y minus 0 squared. And the radius is 5, so it's going to be 5 squared. All right, so then all I have to do is kind of go through this, simplify. So I get x plus 2 squared plus y squared equals 25. All right, and then y'all would do 3B. Okay, so for A, determine if AB and CD are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. All right, we need to find the slopes of both of these. So our slope equation is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So that's going to be 4 minus negative 2, 4 minus 1 over 4 minus negative 2. So I get 3 over 6, which reduces to 1/2. Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing down here. So I have 0 minus negative 3 over 6 minus 0. So I get 3 over 6, which also reduces to 1/2. So since it's the same slope, these are going to be parallel. Okay, so then y'all would do 4B. Okay, 5A is talking about fractional distance. So on these, the best thing to do is start by drawing a number line. Okay, so M is 2/3 the distance from P to Q. So here's P, here's Q. M is 2/3 away. Okay, P is located at -6 and Q is located at 9. Okay, so the total distance is going to be 15. Okay, and then we know that M is 2/3 away. So we do 2/3 of 15, which is just 30 divided by 3, which is 10. So I know that M is 10 away from P, so -6 plus 10 is going to be 4. So M is at 4. Okay, and then y'all would do 5B. Okay, so number 6A is going to be for advanced only. If you're not advanced, go ahead and just skip to the next one. But since M is the midpoint, we're going to go ahead and draw a picture. So here's NP, here's M. So NM is 3x squared minus 7x, and MP is 2x squared minus 10. So we're going to set those equal to each other. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by subtracting everything to set it equal to 0. So I get x squared minus 7x plus 10 equals 0. All right, and then from here, I just have to factor. So it'd be x minus 5 times x minus 2. So x is going to equal positive 5, positive 2. Okay, so then y'all would do 6B. Okay, so then for 7A, we're trying to find the midpoint given 2 endpoints. So we're going to go ahead and use midpoint formula. So I'm going to add my x values together, divide by 2, add my y values together, divide by 2. All right, so -6 plus 10 is going to be 4, and then 4 divided by 2 is going to be 2. All right, then 8 plus -4 is 4. 4 divided by 2 is 2 as well. All right, and then y'all would do 7B. All right, so 8A says write the equation in slope-intercept form of a line that is parallel to the following and passes through the point. So the first thing we need to do is figure out what the slope is. So I'm going to subtract 2x and then divide by 3. So my slope is going to be -2/3. All right, and since I want it parallel, I keep the same slope. So my parallel slope is also going to be -2/3. And if I want it to go through a certain point, I have to use point slope. So that's going to be y minus y1, which is 4, equals m, my slope that I just found, times x minus x1, which is -6. So it becomes +6. Okay, so then what I have to do is distribute the -2/3. So I have y minus 4 equals -2/3 x. 6 times -2 is -12. -12 divided by 3 is -4. Okay, then my last step is to add 4. So this is going to go to y equals -2/3 x. All right, then y'all would do 8B. Okay, so then looking at 9A, so point M is the midpoint of line segment PQ. So here are PQ. My M is the midpoint. So the coordinates of M are 3, -5, and the coordinates of Q are 8, -1. All right, so what I like to do is just look at the x values. So to get from 3 to 8, I add 5. So going in the other direction, I'm going to subtract 5. So 3 minus 5 is going to be -2. All right, and then I do the same thing with my y values. So to get to -5 to -1, I add 4. So in the other direction, I'm going to subtract 4, and that gets me -9. All right, so then y'all would do 9b. All right, so the last two are advanced only, so academic, y'all are done here. Looking at 10a for advanced only, this is our perpendicular bisector question given 2 points. Okay, so the first thing that I want to do is figure out the slope. So that's talking about the perpendicular part. So I'm going to find the slope of CD first. So I do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So I get 6 over 12, which is going to be 1/2. Now I want the perpendicular slope, which is going to be -2. Okay, so then we talk about the bisector part. Bisector means to be cut in half, so it would go through the midpoint. So now I need to figure out the midpoint of CD. Okay, so I take my x values, add them together, divide by 2. Take your y values, add them together, divide by 2. All right, so 9 plus -3 is going to be 6. 6 over 2 is 3. Okay, and then 1 plus 7 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Okay, so the midpoint is 3, 4. So now I have my point, I have my slope. I'm going to use point slope. So I have y minus 4 equals -2 times x minus 3, and then I just solve from here. So distribute the -2, and then I'm going to add 4. So I get y equals -2x plus 10. Okay, so y'all are going to do 10b. All right, then our last one, 11a. So write the equation of a circle given the center and a point on the circle. So here's your circle. Okay, our center is at -3, 5. All right, and then our line on the circle, our point on the circle is at 2, -1. So if I draw a line to connect those, that's our radius. All right, so I need to use my distance formula to find the length of the radius. Okay, so I do x2 minus x1 squared plus y2 minus y1 squared. Okay, change these double negatives. Okay, so 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 squared is going to be 25. And then -1 minus 5 is 6. 6 squared is 36. Okay, if we add those two together, 25 and 36 is going to be 61. Okay, so my radius is going to be the square root of 61. In my equation, I need r squared, so when I square a square root, it goes away. Okay, so then to write my circle equation, I have my center. So I do x minus -3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals r squared, which is 61, and then I just have to clean up that double negative. Okay, so then y'all go ahead and do 11b.